It has been 1 month since I got laid off and started taking my slowing down with art journey seriously. Here's what I've been working on. I have an update for you when it comes to morning pages. So first of all, the notebook is brand new. I actually got this notebook when I was in Manhattan for that New York City vlog when I went to McNally Jackson. And I've had a book from this brand before, or the person is Katie Lehman. I used morning pages before with like a different style. It had like blue flowers on it. I think I showed it on the channel a few times before, but I ended up going with it again because I like that there are a lot of pages in here, and I did have a good experience with it last time. This one is lined, and I'm not used to lined pages. I prefer like blank pages or dotted pages, but it's been all right so far, mostly because morning pages can get really scribbly as you come down to the page 3 of the 3 pages that you write. So long story short, I do like this notebook. I do recommend. Again, it is from Katie Lehman, Leamon. So if you did not know, I started doing the morning pages, which is an activity that you have to consistently do as part of the Artist's Way course, and you're supposed to take that activity and go forth with it forever, basically. And so when I first started the Artist's Way, I started doing the morning pages, and that was last year. I think it was spring of last year. And so I've been doing them since then, and I really like them. I will say, I think I lost the plot with my morning pages because I stopped doing the Artist's Way as well. That may have been a factor, but I just didn't have any direction, or I just didn't really know what I was doing with the morning pages, and that's kind of the point. You're supposed to just write free form for 3 pages total every single morning, but I just wasn't feeling inspired, or I just wasn't feeling anything with it. I was just doing it because it was part of my routine, part of the practice, and it was fine. It was good. I'm not saying it was anything negative at all, but like I was neutral about it. I wasn't really getting anything from it, but I also wasn't getting nothing from it, if that makes sense. However, when I started doing the morning pages this year, and with this new notebook, I think 2 things have changed drastically for me. One, the new notebook. The one that I was using right before this one, I know I mentioned that I used a Katie Lehman book before, but the one that I was using just before this was a very small and thick and chunky one, which I loved. I loved that it was thick and chunky because I was able to put 6 or more months in there of morning pages. However, because the pages were so small, it was half the size of this, or maybe even smaller, I was writing significantly less. And so I wasn't really diving deep into the things that I needed to, which is kind of the purpose of the morning pages, or one purpose of the morning pages. So that's one factor. Another factor is that I restarted the Artist's Way, and I'll tell you about that experience shortly in this video, but maybe coupling that with doing the morning pages as well as like being unemployed and just a combination of things putting me in the right headspace, it has really transformed the way that the morning pages show up for me. And it has started to feel like an extension of me, which I think is extremely effective, and it has been really, really helpful and again transformative for me over the past month. And I don't know what I would do without these morning pages now. Now I really fully get it. I cannot live without doing these morning pages. There have been so many days of the weeks in January where after I wrote the morning pages, I truly felt emotional. There was so much going on in my head. I would have to debrief and process the things that I wrote to myself, of course, because this is like a very personal thing. But yeah, it has been incredible, and I don't know what I would do without my morning pages now. So a little update on that and how it's going. It is going really, really well, and definitely my favorite part of the Artist's Way thus far. But again, we'll get into that in a little bit. Since I am still in the midst of my morning routine, you may or may not know if you've seen my other morning routine vlogs, I am going to do a little bit of sketching. Sketching has become a bit of a playground, which I think is the purpose of sketching and a sketchbook. But my former perfectionist self would look at a sketchbook almost like it's the final stage of a piece. If I didn't effortlessly sketch out a masterpiece in here, am I even an artist? It's silly in hindsight, and yet all artists go through this. The second I started treating it as my playground, that's when the magic ironically appeared. I've also been adding an affirmation to my morning routine. I know this is not a morning routine video, but I think the affirmation is really helpful. These two are just all up in my business today. But I think the affirmation is really helpful with shifting my mindset into something more creative. I know you're not listening to me at all, but it puts me in a much more creative headspace. And so I'm going to tell you what my affirmation for today is. It is to create, build, and execute. So to actually say that in an affirmation type of way, I am capable of creating, building, and executing something that is fulfilling to me. I know you probably didn't see or hear anything but Riley, but that is the affirmation for today. Okay, the artist's way. I just completed week 3, and the first time that I started the artist's way, again, last year, I got up to week 3 and I didn't complete it, so I have officially surpassed what I did in my first attempt of starting and completing the artist's way. I'm really happy about that. I'm really proud of myself for that, and I'm still feeling super motivated and excited to continue going on this course. It's a 12-week course if you didn't know. So yeah, I think again, my headspace is where it needs to be to complete the artist's way. When I first started the artist's way, I was working my 9 to 5 and it was a creative job. So I think at the time I thought I was creatively fulfilled enough, and I don't really know why I picked it up. I think I picked it up back then because I saw Tiffany from Apple Cheeks do it, and her journey was incredible to witness. So that's probably why I picked it up at the time, but I don't think I was in the right headspace. I was reading through it at the time, and I can just remember telling myself, like, I know all of these things already and I feel pretty fulfilled, but like this is a cool refresher, I guess. And so I think that's telling in that I was not in the right mindset to get into the artist's way at that time. Now that I'm unemployed, now that I am not doing a creative 9 to 5, now that I am learning more about myself and what is truly valuable to me and spending a lot more time with myself as opposed to splitting my time and priorities of the day to myself and then mostly work, I have learned a lot about what is valuable to me, and I have learned that perhaps that 9 to 5 was more so a distraction than a creative fulfillment. It was creatively fulfilling in many ways, but it wasn't the thing, the most valuable thing. But it was surely distracting me and surely making me believe that was the case at the time. So now that I am about to be in week 4 of the artist's way, I am starting to figure out so many different things about what is super valuable to me, and I'm being really vague because like I'm still navigating through it. I'm still wading through what it is, and I feel like I've gotten there, but I still need to go through the rest of the book, and I'm not halfway through, so I don't really want to speak ahead of time. I don't want to rush at all. I want to process these feelings. I want to navigate through what is going on in my head and in my heart when it comes to creativity and stuff like that, and I wanted to also direct my art, my actual art, my painting and stuff like that. But needless to say, I think all of these thoughts show and tell that the artist way is doing a lot for me in a positive way, and I am learning so much. And I didn't think that I was going to be learning about stuff from the artist's way when I said that I was going to start the year off strengthen my art education. I thought I was talking about technicality stuff. I thought I was talking about taking Skillshare classes about art technique and blah blah blah, and I did start the year off doing that. I started the year off doing Skillshare classes for acrylic painting. I'm just going to tell you right now, I dropped that because I don't think that I like acrylic painting. Like, I just do not like the experience, and I'll talk more about that probably in another segment or in another video. But yeah, acrylic's not my thing. I am more so a watercolor artist, like you all know that I have been for many, many years. But yeah, the artist way has been so great for me. It has almost been an anchor for me during this weird, unpredictable, confusing time. And I have to say, like, in the beginning of the year where I was feeling super lost and I was in a headspace and I was in a mindset of just pure anxiety, like letting anxiety lead that. I am now in a headspace that feels a little bit more in control and not necessarily knowing what the future holds in terms of my job or in terms of my creative endeavors, but I still feel like I have more control and an overall understanding of what I want and what I value and what is most important to me and what is exciting to me and all of the things. Who knew that, the Artist's Way was going to do that for me, but I know a lot of people actually have had that experience with this book. So that's an Artist's Way update with a lot of random bits and pieces about where I'm at, not just with my art, but with my life and with unemployment and navigating being unemployed as a 30-year-old who has never learned to stop working since she was 15 years old. And we can probably dive into all of the things that I touched upon in this very short clip because there's so much to dive into. But I will not go on and ramble about it. We can definitely break this up and dissect it in other videos or in more videos because there's a lot more to this series to come, and I'm so excited about that. But yeah, that's the Artist's Way. Oh, and you know what? I should end this off by talking a little bit about some of the assignments that I just finished. Like I literally just finished them, to give you an idea of some of the things you can expect in the Artist's Way if you ever decide picking it up, or if you're just curious about like what I am working through when I say that I'm working on the Artist's Way. So one activity that I just completed, and they're prompts. They're essentially prompts that you sit with and you really journal with. And if you remember from my New York City vlog, one of these prompts lasted 16 pages. But one task is to describe your childhood room, like really, really go in and describe it, even sketch it. Another example is listing 5 traits I liked in myself as a child. There's a lot of child prompts in here because we're kind of healing our inner child at the same time. But another prompt that has nothing to do with being a kid is list 5 people you admire and then list 5 people you secretly admire and talk about the traits between the two categories. So very interesting stuff. Prompts that I personally would never think about and never associate with my art education journey. But oh my gosh, the stuff that has been coming out when I journal has been eye-opening in such a good way. I cannot wait to start week 4, which I will start next week. I'll probably be working on it while you watch this video, but the week 4 topic is recovering a sense of integrity, which is super, super interesting. Like I mentioned, I scrapped acrylic. I don't hate acrylic. I actually decided to start learning it because of how pretty it looks. But as a watercolor artist, I find the acrylic painting process to be the polar opposite of watercolor painting. Just wasn't comfy with it. So I moved back into my comfort space, and while I feel good and confident and more willing to play in this space, I do appreciate what acrylic did for me. It challenged me and got me to pick up the brush every day and look at art on the flip side, which is something I think you have to do to feel discomfort and challenged in the art space. It's almost like a puzzle that's equally frustrating and addicting to navigate through. Knowing the fulfillment once you complete will be unmatched. Anyway, this video has a lot of puzzle pieces. Pieces that I walked away from for different reasons and came back to with a refreshed mindset. Pieces that did not fit the way I thought, so I flipped them over and they became seamless. The puzzle itself isn't complete, but I'm addicted to navigating through it. That's how I know this is going to be a fulfilling experience. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.